I was staring at my phone watching it ring for the third time that Wednesday afternoon. Mom. Usually, her calls made me smile. But something about the way my stomach dropped told me this one would be different. When I finally answered, her voice came through cold, stripped of every ounce of warmth I had known my entire life. You have 48 hours to sign over half of your company to Marcus, or I never want to see you again. I sat frozen in my new office looking out over the city skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows and realized the empire I had just finished building might cost me everything I had left. Before we go any further, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you have ever faced an impossible choice between family and everything you worked for, hit that subscribe button, because this story is about to take you through the hardest 2 days of my life. What happened next tested everything I thought I knew about family loyalty and what we really owe the people who raised us. Let me take you back to where this all started. 3 years ago, I started my software company from absolutely nothing. Just me, Jesus Martinez, sitting in a cramped studio apartment with a laptop that took 5 minutes to boot up and an idea that kept me awake every night. I wanted to build logistics software that would help small and medium-sized businesses optimize their supply chains. Everyone told me the market was saturated. Everyone said I would fail. I remember those first 6 months like they happened yesterday. I would code from 8 in the morning until 2 the next morning, living on instant ramen and black coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. My friends stopped inviting me out because I always said no. I had no time for anything except making this dream real. Every line of code felt like laying another brick in a foundation I was building from scratch. My first customer was a small trucking company in Houston, Texas. They paid me $2,000 for a beta version that barely worked. I cried when that payment hit my account. Not because of the money, but because someone believed in what I was building. 6 months later, I had 15 clients. The software was getting better, the reviews were strong, and word was spreading. By the end of year 1, I was bringing in $200,000 in revenue. I was still working alone in that same apartment, but I could finally afford to eat something other than noodles. Year 2 changed everything. I brought on Tyler as my Chief Technology Officer. He was brilliant driven and believed in the vision as much as I did. Together, we expanded the platform, added new features, and started scaling up. Now, in year 3, we had just crossed $1,200,000 in annual revenue, with $700,000 in net profit. 23 employees. A beautiful office downtown with real furniture and a coffee machine that did not taste like despair. We were growing fast, signing bigger clients every month, and I had finally started to believe that I had actually done it. I had built something real. But family was always complicated. My mom, Gloria, raised my brother Marcus and me alone after our dad walked out when I was 12 years old. I still remember watching her work 2 jobs, her face gray with exhaustion she never complained about. She would do the morning shift at a packaging plant, come home for 3 hours, then head out to wait at tables at a diner until midnight. Some nights I would wake up and find her asleep at the kitchen table, still in her uniform, too tired to make it to bed. She gave us everything, and I never forgot that. Every success I had, I thought about her sacrifices. That is why I kept trying to help Marcus, even when it became clear he did not want to help himself. Marcus was 3 years older than me. He graduated with a degree in electrical engineering from a decent state school. On paper, he should have been successful. But in the 5 years since graduation, he had gone through 7 different jobs. 7. Each time he had a reason. The boss was unfair. His co-workers were jealous. The work was boring and beneath his talents. Each time I believed him. Each time I tried to help. Right now, Marcus had been unemployed for 8 months. He lived in Mom's house in his old bedroom, while she paid for his phone bill, his car insurance, his groceries. He was 35 years old. I had tried to help. Really, I had. I introduced him to 3 different companies looking for engineers. He lasted 3 weeks at the first one before quitting because the commute was too long. He never showed up for the interviews at the other 2. I loaned him $5,000 once to help him start a consulting business. That was 2 years ago. I never saw a cent of it again, and the business never materialized. 2 weeks before the phone call that shattered everything, I took Mom and Marcus out to dinner at one of the nicest restaurants in town. I wanted to celebrate hitting the $1 million revenue milestone. I wanted to share my joy with the people who mattered most. But the whole night felt wrong. Mom barely touched her food. She kept looking at me with this expression I could not read somewhere between sadness and disapproval. When I talked about the business, about our growth plans, she interrupted me. "Why do you work so hard? Family should come first." I was confused. I worked hard for my family, to make sure I could take care of Mom someday, to prove that her sacrifices meant something. But I just smiled and changed the subject. Marcus sat there the entire meal, silent, watching me with eyes that felt like they were measuring everything I had and everything he did not. It made my skin crawl. Toward the end of dinner, I made a mistake. I offered to help Marcus find a position at my company. Entry-level customer service, nothing fancy, but stable income with benefits and room to grow. He looked at me like I had slapped him. "I do not want your charity, Jesus. I do not need you to save me." The venom in his voice shocked me. I backed off immediately, but the damage was done. The rest of the meal passed in uncomfortable silence. When we left, I hugged Mom goodbye. She did not hug back. She just patted my shoulder and said, "We need to talk soon." I figured she wanted to borrow money for house repairs or ask me to co-sign a lease for Marcus. I had no idea what was actually coming. That Wednesday evening after the phone call, I drove to Mom's house in a daze. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. 48 hours to give Marcus half of my company, or lose my mother forever. The words kept echoing in my head, but they would not make sense. I kept thinking there had to be some misunderstanding, some explanation that would make this rational. I pulled up to the small house where I grew up. The paint was peeling on the shutters. The grass needed mowing. I had offered to pay for landscaping a dozen times. Mom always said no. As I walked to the door, I could see them through the kitchen window. Mom sitting at the old wooden table we had eaten at for 20 years. Marcus next to her, leaning back in his chair with his arms crossed, looking more confident than I had seen him in years. I knocked. Marcus answered with a smile that made my blood run cold. "So, little brother, you ready to do the right thing?" I pushed past him without answering. Mom would not look at me when I sat down across from her. Her hands were folded on the table, her jaw set in that way that meant she had made up her mind about something. "Mom, what is this about?" My voice came out smaller than I intended. She finally looked up and her eyes were hard. "Marcus is my son, too, my firstborn. He deserves to have what you have. It is only fair." I felt like the floor was tilting under me. deserves Mom. Marcus has not worked on this business at all. He does not have the skills, the experience. He does not even want to work." Marcus slammed his hand on the table. "See, this is what I told you. He thinks he is better than me. He thinks because he got lucky with some software that he is superior." Lucky. The word hit me like a punch. 3 years of 18-hour days of risking everything, of building something from nothing, and he called it luck. I tried to stay calm. I explained about the 23 people who depended on the company for their livelihoods, about the customers who trusted us, about Tyler, my partner, who had put his own career on the line to join me, about contracts and obligations and the reality that you cannot just hand half a company to someone with no qualifications. Mom cut me off. "They are strangers, Jesus. Marcus is blood. Family comes first. I sacrificed everything for both of you. This is what you owe." The guilt hit me like a wave. She was right about the sacrifices. I owed her more than I could ever repay. But this, "Mom, I love you more than anything. But what you are asking would destroy everything I built. It would hurt innocent people. I cannot do that." Her face went stiff. "Cannot or will not?" Before I could answer, she stood up and walked to the door, opening it. "You have until Friday at 5 in the afternoon. After that, do not call me. Do not come here. You will no longer be my son." Marcus was still sitting there, looking pleased with himself. I wanted to ask him why, what I had done to make him hate me this much, but I knew I would not get a real answer. I left without another word, and as I pulled away, I could see them through the window again. Marcus had his arm around Mom's shoulders. She was crying, and I was the villain in their story. Thursday was torture. I did not sleep. I called Mom's phone 15 times. She never picked up. I texted Marcus, trying to reason with him. His response was short. "Just sign the papers. It is the right thing to do." The right thing. As if there was anything right about extortion dressed up as family loyalty. I met Tyler for coffee at 7 in the morning. He took one look at my face and knew something was catastrophically wrong. When I told him everything, he went pale. "Jesus, you cannot do this. Marcus will destroy the company. He has no idea how to run a business. He will drive off our clients, alienate our team, and burn through our capital in 6 months. Everything we built will be gone." I knew he was right, but the alternative was losing my mother. I kept seeing her face from the night before, hard and cold in a way I had never seen directed at me. What kind of son chooses business over his own mother? That is what she would say. That is what everyone would say. I called my lawyer Samantha at 9. She had handled all our contracts, our incorporation, everything legal for the company. When I explained the situation, there was a long silence. "Jesus, if you sign over half the company to Marcus, he will have equal decision-making power. He can block any major decision. He can vote to sell the company. He can fire employees, including Tyler. He can run this thing into the ground, and legally there would not be much you could do about it. This is not just bad. This is potentially catastrophic. But family is supposed to matter more than business, right? That is what Mom always taught us. That is what I believed. I spent Thursday afternoon sitting in my office, unable to work, unable to think about anything except the impossible choice in front of me. A few employees asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was fine, but I was falling apart. That evening, I drove back to Mom's house. I needed to try one more time to make her understand. My car was visible from the living room window. I knocked for 5 minutes. No one answered, even though I could see movement inside. Finally, I walked around to the side of the house and looked through the window. Mom and Marcus were sitting on the couch watching television, laughing at something on the screen. Like nothing was wrong. Like they had not just delivered an ultimatum that was tearing me apart. Marcus glanced toward the window and saw me standing there. He smiled, gave me a little wave, and turned back to the TV. That was when I knew this was not about fairness or family. This was about Marcus wanting something he did not earn and weaponizing our mother's love to get it. Friday morning arrived with the weight of a funeral. I had 8 hours until the deadline. 8 hours to decide whether to betray everything I built or lose the woman who raised me. I sat in my office before sunrise, watching the city wake up below me. The streets filled with people heading to jobs, living their normal lives, unaware that my entire world was collapsing. I thought about my 23 employees, good people with families, mortgages, dreams of their own. What would happen to them if Marcus got control? I thought about Tyler, who had left a stable job at a major tech company to bet on my vision. What would happen to him? I thought about our customers, small business owners who trusted us with critical operations. What would happen to them? And then I thought about myself. Not the successful entrepreneur. Not the guy with the nice office and the 7-figure revenue. I thought about the kid who used to watch his mom come home exhausted, who promised himself he would make something of his life, who spent 3 years building something from nothing, because he refused to quit. If I signed those papers, I would not just be giving away half my company. I would be telling that kid that none of it mattered, that the work did not count, that you can take whatever you want from people if you manipulate them correctly. At 10 in the morning, I called Samantha. I need you to draft a letter, formal, professional. My voice was steady for the first time in 2 days. She listened as I dictated what I wanted to say. I would not be signing over any part of my company. I loved my mother and my brother, but I could not agree to something that would hurt innocent people and destroy what I had built through honest work. However, I was offering Marcus $25,000 for professional training or education in any field he chose. I was offering to help him find legitimate employment. I was offering to provide reasonable financial support for Mom if she needed it. But the company was not on the table. At 4:30 in the afternoon, I pulled up to Mom's house one final time. Marcus opened the door with a smirk. "So you brought the papers?" I looked him in the eye. "No, I brought something better." His smirk faded. I walked past him into the kitchen where Mom was sitting in the same chair as before, like she had not moved in 2 days. I handed her the letter and a check for $25,000 along with a folder of information about professional development programs. She read the letter slowly. Her hands started shaking. I could see Marcus reading over her shoulder, his face turning red. "You selfish piece of trash," he spat at me. "You think you are so smart. You think your stupid company matters more than family." I ignored him and spoke directly to Mom in Spanish, the language she used when she needed to speak from her heart. "Mama, I love you more than anything in this world. But what you are asking will destroy me and hurt many innocent people who depend on me. I cannot do that. If you choose to side with Marcus over doing what is right, I will accept that. I will always love you. But I will not betray myself and everyone who trusted me." Tears were running down her face. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. Marcus exploded. He grabbed the check and ripped it into pieces. "Get out. We do not need you or your dirty money. You are dead to us." I stayed calm. I placed another copy of the check and the program information on the table. This will always be here when you are ready. I hope someday you both understand. Then I turned and walked out. Behind me, I heard Marcus slam his fist on the table and Mom's quiet sobs. Every step toward my car felt like walking through concrete. But I kept walking. The next week was the longest of my life. Silence. No calls, no texts, nothing. I threw myself into work because it was the only thing keeping me sane. We closed a major contract with a logistics company in California. It should have been a moment to celebrate. Instead, I signed the papers in a fog, feeling hollow. Tyler knew something was still wrong, but he gave me space. The team could tell I was off, but they were professional enough not to pry. Then, the following Wednesday, my phone rang with a number I did not recognize. Jesus, this is Maria, your mom's neighbor. My heart stopped. Is she okay? Maria's voice was gentle. Physically, yes, but you need to know what happened. Marcus left 3 days ago. He was furious that you did not give him what he wanted. He told your mom she was weak and stupid for raising such a selfish son, and then he packed his things and moved out. She has barely eaten since. She just sits in her house crying. I think she needs you. I was in my car before Maria even finished talking. I broke every speed limit getting to Mom's house. When she opened the door, I barely recognized her. She had lost weight. Her eyes were sunken and red from crying. When she saw me, her face crumpled and she fell into my arms. I am so sorry, she sobbed into my chest. I was so wrong. I let Marcus twist everything. I let him make me believe you were the selfish one when it was him all along. I almost lost you. I almost lost my good son because I was trying to save the one who does not want to be saved. I held her while she cried, feeling my own tears finally come. It is okay, Mom. I understand. You love him. You wanted to help him. That is not wrong. She pulled back and looked at me with clear eyes for the first time in weeks. He lied to me, Jesus, about so many things. He told me you never visited, that you only called when you wanted something, that you looked down on us. None of it was true. I see that now. When you did not give him what he wanted, he turned on me too. He called me pathetic and left, and I realized that you were right. Some people need to learn to stand on their own, and by protecting Marcus from consequences, I was destroying him. The months that followed were about healing. I spent a time with Mom, real time, helping her work through the guilt and the grief of accepting that Marcus might never become the man she hoped he would be. We went to therapy together. She started attending community events at the senior center, making friends, finding joy in things beyond worrying about her sons. Marcus called 4 months later. His voice was different, smaller. Jesus, I need to say something. I was wrong. About everything. I was jealous of you. I hated that you succeeded when I kept failing. Instead of dealing with my own problems, I blamed you. I manipulated Mom. I tried to take what you earned. I am sorry. I listened, letting him finish. I appreciate you saying that, Marcus. I really do. I hope you find what you are looking for in life. When you are ready to stand on your own feet to do the actual work, I will help you. But I will never give you something you did not earn. That would not help either of us. He told me he had finally gotten a job as a technician at a small electronics company. The pay was not great, but he was showing up every day. It was a start. We were not close, maybe we never would be again, but at least we were honest with each other now. My company kept growing. By year 4, we hit $2 million in revenue. We opened a second office in Denver. Tyler became Chief Operating Officer. We created a scholarship program for young entrepreneurs who had great ideas but no resources, because I remembered what it felt like to start with nothing. Mom came to our company events now beaming with pride, telling anyone who would listen about how her son built all of this through hard work and integrity. Looking back on that 48-hour ultimatum, I realize it was the greatest test of my life. It forced me to confront what I really believed about family loyalty and self-respect. I learned that loving your family does not mean destroying yourself to please them. It means setting healthy boundaries even when it hurts. It means understanding that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no, because saying yes would enable destructive behavior. I learned that nobody deserves something they did not work for, even if they share your blood. Real family supports you in becoming the best version of yourself. They do not demand you sacrifice your dreams and integrity to make them comfortable. And I learned that staying true to yourself even when everyone around you says you are wrong is not selfish. It is necessary. Because if you lose yourself trying to please everyone else, what do you really have left to give? Today, my relationship with Mom is stronger than ever, built on honesty instead of guilt. Marcus is finding his own way, slowly, painfully, but finally moving forward. As for me, I sleep well at night knowing I stayed true to who I am. I protected the people who trusted me. I honored the work I put in. And honestly, that peace of mind is worth more than any 7-figure business could ever be. Have you ever been put in an impossible position by someone you love, where doing the right thing meant risking everything? I would love to hear your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit that like button and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Do not forget to subscribe because I share real stories about the hardest decisions we face in life. Thank you for listening to mine. I hope it helps you find the courage to stand firm in your own truth, no matter who is asking you to compromise it. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is survival.